Welcome to Mostly Mets, and today what I'm going to be discussing is really the next 10 games for the Mets. They're very important. We have the Braves coming up here in Atlanta, then they go to Philadelphia for 3, and then they go back home to have the Braves come in for 4 more games, and this is a really big stretch for the Mets. They obviously didn't play their best ball in the last series against the Rays, getting swept at home, not what you wanted to see, but at this point, I'm just getting rid of that. I'm not thinking about that anymore. I'm really just thinking that they kind of underestimated the Rays a little bit. The Rays look like a really good team, especially offensively, and I'm just gonna flush that series and pretend it didn't happen because the Mets didn't play like they normally would, and the Rays just looked really good. So I'm flushing that one. They just played some bad baseball for a weekend there, and we're going to move past that. But now going into this Braves series, this is the first time that they've played the Braves since that classic game they played last year in Atlanta. Obviously, that was a back-and-forth affair, crazy game to get the Mets into the playoffs after their terrible start, and it kind of almost felt like maybe slaying the dragon a little bit. The Braves have always been an issue for the Mets. No matter how good the Mets are, the Braves always seem to beat them, especially in Atlanta. I haven't looked up the stats. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but it always feels that way. It always feels like all of the Mets' heartbreak comes to the hands of the Atlanta Braves and even the Marlins, which is another strange one. But the Braves have not been very good this year. They're currently 31-39. They're 13 games back in the division, but they played better as of late. Their last 2 series, they've won against the Brewers and the Rockies, winning 4 out of those 6. And really, they've been playing a lot better since Acuna has come back. In 77 at-bats this year, Acuna's hitting .390 with 7 home runs and 13 RBIs, almost a 1,200 OPS. So he's really come back from the injured list, from that knee injury, flying, and like he never was gone. And it's really improved their lineup. It's improved their team. Their pitching is already good. They've had a lot of underperformers in their lineup this year, whether it's Ozuna, who's playing injured, Olsen, whose numbers are down. There's a lot of guys who just aren't playing up to their career, numbers. A lot of big guys that they expected to be really good just haven't really been all that great. But with Acuna playing well, and now the Mets come into town, it adds a little bit to it. You might see guys go off. This might get the Braves going. But what I really hope that this series does is that it kind of changes the perception of the Mets. For years, and even Mets fans and outside, Atlanta fans, whatever, we know that Atlanta has pretty much owned us for the last forever. I'm 35 years old, and I feel like my entire life the Braves have owned the Mets. And if you look back on their, statistics all time, the Braves do own the Mets. The 90s with that great pitching staff, and then all the consecutive, NL East championships. The Braves have just always been, the big brother in the NL East, and that's just a fact. The Mets have had times where they've been better and won division title, but overall, the Braves have owned the Mets. And if the Mets want to prove with, obviously it's not new ownership anymore, but different ownership, new guy in charge, president of baseball operations, only a couple years into the job, a brand new team. Yes, there's a lot of remaining guys such as Nimmo and Alonso, and even Lindor's kind of a veteran on the team now. But you have guys like Soto and Acuna and Mauricio and Beatty and guys like that who don't have much invested in this rivalry. And honestly, at the end of the day, if the Mets want to prove that they are the class of the division, even though the Phillies won it last year and the Phillies are the ones chasing the Mets right now, I would love to see them be the one to bury Atlanta. 13 games back in the division and 8 games under 500, this is an opportunity where the Mets play the Braves 7 times in the next 10 games for the Mets to be the one that buries them and maybe makes them think about becoming sellers at the trade deadline. If the Braves go into the All-Star break 15, 16 games back in the division, are they really going to try to go for it? Or are they maybe going to sell off some of their pieces? Now, I don't think the Mets are getting any of their pieces, but, guys like Chris Sale and those guys can all be traded. Ozuna, Sale, all those guys. Maybe it makes the Braves kind of rebuild. And I would love to see the Mets be the team that does that to Atlanta. They have a great opportunity to do it. Now, will they? I don't know. The way that the Mets played in the last series, like I said, I'm flushing it, but with the way that they played in the last series, and the way that their offense has looked great at times and other times has completely gone to sleep, really just doesn't give me very much confidence. But what I do have confidence in is in the big situations, and believe it or not, even though the Braves are 8 games under 500, this is still a big situation, a big game, a big series, because it's the Braves, and it's in division, and it's a team that you want to beat. And the Mets seem to do better in those situations, so I do think that the Mets can beat the Braves, and I think that they will beat the Braves, but I don't have a ton of confidence in it as if they were another team that was 8 games under 500. I just don't. The Braves are always a scary team. I love playing them because, especially the last couple of years, it's been more competitive, and it's been a really good matchup. So, love to see the Mets do well. Like I said, not 100% confidence, but I do like their chances. They are a better team than the Braves right now. Before I go any further, if you are new here, please subscribe, give me a like, if you like this content, and comment whatever you want. If you're returning, do the same, give me a like, comment whatever you want. But now we'll go kind of into the pitching matchups here, and I'd be lying if I said that the Mets had the pitching advantage in this series, because they really don't. In Game 1, you have Peterson against Schwellenbach. Now, Peterson has been great all year. He's really probably been, outside of Senga, who's out right now, their best pitcher, their best starting pitcher. He's become one of the better left-handed pitchers in the game. And, I have confidence when he pitches. But, on the other hand, the Mets are going against Spencer Schwellenbach, who they were dominated by last year. In 3 starts against the Mets last year, Schwellenbach went 7 innings in all 3 games. He gave you 21 innings, only 9 hits, 1 walk, 20 strikeouts, and 2 earned runs in those 21 innings. So this is a guy that the Mets have had issues hitting. Now, is there a couple new guys in the lineup? Sure. But the main core is still there, other than basically Soto. So I'm not very confident against Schwellenbach. Maybe they've seen him now. They've seen him 3 times. Maybe they can do something against him. But until they hit Schwellenbach, I'm just going to sit here and say that he owns them, because he has. For all of last year, the 3 times they faced him, he owned the Mets. And until they change that, that's how it's going to kind of be. So no matter who you have going, you don't expect to get very much off of him. Even though he hasn't necessarily been that great this year, he's still got an ERA of 3.1 in 89 innings. Like, he's been a very good pitcher this year. Not as good as Peterson, but he's been a very good pitcher. Game 1, I have to give the pitching advantage to the Braves because of who it is. Now, in Game 2, the Braves have an obvious advantage. They have Chris Sale going, last year's NL Cy Young Award winner. He's got a 2.79 ERA this year. He's got 107 strikeouts in just 80 innings, 25 walks, 73 hits. He's been great. And another one of those guys, if the Braves fall out of it, maybe Sale gets traded, I don't know. Won't be to the Mets, just because I don't think the Braves would make that magnitude of a trade with the Mets. But I don't really know if the Mets would be looking at an older pitcher like that. Who knows? I don't know. But the Mets have Paul Blackburn going. No confidence in him whatsoever. Yes, he had a very good start against the Dodgers when he first came off the injured list. But then he had that relief outing where he was awful, where he only got 1 out, and I think he gave up 4 runs. He just wasn't very good. And I have no confidence in him going up against a good lineup like the Braves, who are kind of ascending at this point. 6.75 ERA in 9 innings. He's given up 14 hits and 2 walks in those 9 innings and only 6 strikeouts. So, listen, could he surprise us? Absolutely. And he's going to be important while Senga's out and while, we have some injuries, and until Montas and Minaya come back. Blackburn's going to be there. And I don't know, we obviously don't love that. It's not ideal. But at least we have some major league depth, even though it is Blackburn, who's kind of a bottom end of the league kind of pitcher. The Mets are digging deep now, and they're going into their 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th guys in the rotation, and that's really what Blackburn is. So, obviously, Sale over Blackburn in Game 2, but crazier things have happened. It's not like Sale's untouchable. You can hit him. He has been hit at certain times, and Blackburn pitched well against the Dodgers, so you never know. He could give you another really good start. Now, in Game 3, it's kind of an even matchup, right? You have Clay Holmes going up against Spencer Strider. Clay Holmes has been pretty good this year. He's got a 2.87 ERA. He's given up some walks, too many walks here and there. He's given up some home runs as of late. And you don't really know what his pitch count's going to be or what his innings limit is. In his last start, he was only able to go 5 innings because he had an 85 pitch limit. They're clearly trying to limit him, and also I guess he had a hard time recovering after his start in Colorado, which apparently is a pretty common issue for pitchers. And most people don't see it as a big deal, but hopefully he's able to give a full load in this game and really be what he's been all year, which is a very solid 5, 6, 7 inning pitcher who can maybe give up a run or two. He's just a solid pitcher. He's not a Cy Young winner. He's not the best pitcher on the team, but he has good stuff, and there are days where he can really dominate a lineup, and hopefully we get that version of Clay Holmes here. And he goes up against Spencer Strider, and Strider, when he's healthy and when he's right, is one of the best pitchers in baseball. But he's been a little up and down so far this year, mostly down. And that was until last start, where against the Rockies, he went 6 innings and had 13 strikeouts and gave up no runs. Now, it's against the Rockies. I understand that. We saw the Mets do very well against the Rockies and sweeping them, winning 6 out of 6 games against the Rockies this year. So the Rockies are clearly a bad team. But Strider was able to get 13 strikeouts and go 6 innings after really struggling for all of the season. He missed a lot of time, came back, got hurt again, and then now he's back and trying to work his way into the rotation and work his way back to what he was. So Strider has kind of had a mixed bag against the Mets in his career. He's had a couple really good starts and mostly bad starts, honestly. The Mets have kind of hit Strider over the last few years since he's come up. But this is the type of game where I feel like is even, but the Mets probably do have a slight advantage with Holmes in that. But anything can happen. You can have the best pitcher in baseball going up and he can give up 4 runs in the first inning, or you can have the worst pitcher in baseball, Paul Blackburn against the Dodgers. You never know what can happen. So saying anyone has the advantage is really, who knows? You never know what's going to happen. We could just go off basically what we've seen so far. Now, in between these two Braves series, the Mets go to Philadelphia. And listen, the last couple years the Mets have owned Philly, but while the Mets had their struggles against Tampa, losing, getting swept in those 3 games, now the Phillies swept the Blue Jays in those 3 games, and they won last night as well. So the Phillies are now only 2 games back of the Mets after just 4 days ago they were 5.5 back. So the Mets didn't do themselves any favors by getting swept, but the Phillies have also won the games, that the Mets lost. So I'm not concerned necessarily about the Phillies, but this is one of those stretches here, the Braves for 7 games and the Phillies, that's going to do a lot to determine what the Mets season is going to be. Are they the team that we thought they were a week ago, which they were demolishing bad teams, right, and playing really well, pitching well, hitting well, doing all the things? Or are they going to be that team that struggles with runners in scoring position and doesn't have enough good starting pitching, and their bullpen is faltering that we saw against the Rays? Are they the great team or are they the bad team? I like to think they're somewhere in the middle, right? You're never as good as you look when you're, flying high, and you're never as bad as it seems when you're struggling. So they are better than what they've shown with runners in scoring position this year, and they've proven that at times. Their pitching staff, while they're kind of not household names, they've all done a really good job against good teams this year. We could talk about Canning and McGill and all those guys. Canning was great to start the year, and he's faltered lately, but he's had good starts against good teams. He hasn't only done well against bad teams. In fact, he's probably done worse against bad teams. McGill is what he is at this point. He'll be out of the rotation as soon as we get a little healthier. Blackburn did great against the Dodgers, and then really struggled against the Nationals. So you never really know how guys are going to be. But on paper, this is not a bad pitching staff with Clay Holmes, with David Peterson, with Senga hopefully coming back very soon because it was only a grade 1 strain. Minaya coming back. Montas, I don't know what we have in him yet. We haven't seen him pitch for the Mets yet, but they're getting healthier, and I think that the pitching staff will be better moving forward. Yes, they still have the best ERA in baseball, but they've struggled lately. I think they're going to continue being a good pitching staff. Maybe not the best in baseball, but at this point, they'll still be a top 5 pitching staff in baseball. But this series and this stretch of games is going to go a long way in determining that. Do they fall apart after that terrible Rays series and kind of revert back to being the old Mets, or do they show that they are a whole new team, a whole new regime, and those things aren't going to happen anymore? Basically, are they going to be the LOL Mets going forward, or did they turn over a new leaf and become a dominant force in this league? I think these 10 games are going to go a long way in showing what they are. This is an important 10-game stretches you can have for late June, and they have to show something, and they have to play well against these division rivals. Now, I have to say, I love these division games. I wish we had more of them, right? I don't care about playing, the Rockies that much. I don't care about or the American League. I don't care about playing the Orioles or the Red Sox even, or the Blue Jays, or any of those teams. I want to play more division games. I don't care about playing the White Sox, right? I wish they played more games against the Braves and the Phillies. The fact that we're in mid-June now and this is the first time they've played the Braves is kind of crazy to me. We should have seen them play a bunch already, and we just haven't. And I think it's hurting the game a little bit. I would much rather see them play more games against the Braves and the Phillies again like they used to. I don't think it'll happen. I think the MLB likes it this way. But, yeah, I wish we had more of it. Anyway, that's really all I got today. I really hope that the Mets come through this and really prove that last series in Tampa or against Tampa was just a blip in the radar, and they'll get through it. I believe that they will. And, that's really all I got. So, once again, if you're still here and you like this content, please subscribe. And until next time, let's go Mets.